Hey everybody, it's your professional lovers in training. I'm Patty.
And I'm Al.
And we're here for our weekly recap of Married at First Sight. Not that much to talk about tonight.
No.
Only a couple of major issues, as in issues we haven't really addressed before. Yay, Taylor and Brandon gave us a reprieve. Nothing to talk about them tonight, so
cordial and pleasant.
Exactly. So we're glad that they were able to spend this week reacquainting themselves with each other and seeing what it was that they liked about each other from the very beginning. We know it's not going to last, but we're happy that they had a good time for this week. Jessica and Austin, again, they're the perfect couple in that how they relate to each other is very healthy, very productive. She went on the rampage again about him saying, I love you. But we did have an interesting conversation about those words, I love you. Because with Dr. Viviana's help, Jessica did allow herself to become vulnerable because she did not want to be the one to say, I love you first. Oops. And we know that that is a very common issue in friendship relationships. Who's going to be the first one to say that? Why is that an issue? Well, for me and for many women, to be the one to say I love you to a guy has made a lot of guys feel like when you say that, what I'm actually saying is I want you to marry me and I want to have your babies. And they run like you lit a fire under their butt. So no, women really don't want to be the first ones to say those words because so many men get spooked by that. And there have been times in relationship friendships, as in I was getting to know somebody, we were not serious, where I could say I love you because I cared about that person. It's the kind of what we call agape love, as in you care about somebody, you want them to be well, you want them to be productive, you want them to have a good life, but I'm not necessarily saying I love you for you to marry me.
You're not necessarily saying that you're in love with the person.
Right.
But you love the personality, the character, the
exactly. I love spending time with you. I love, so.
And now the three words, I love you, have as many varied meanings as there are individuals who say them.
And it holds different weights for different people. So I understand why Jessica didn't want to say that, but she did. And
on camera.
She got the response that she figured she was going to get, which is Austin just looked at
crickets.
Her, looked at Dr. Viviana, looked in space.
But he said it in so many other ways. It just that he didn't say those three words.
Now you inferred that he may not have said I love you because that's his way of controlling his vulnerability. But then I said, but maybe him not saying that is because those three words hold more weight to him than they do to other people. And for instance, I told Al that, he let it slip. I love you.
It was just casual conversation. And if I recall correctly, it was a situation that, we saw something happen between two people and the guy did something to the girl. And I said, I wouldn't do that because I love you.
It wasn't quite like that, but
something
it was.
Like that. It was
I wouldn't do that because I love you. And I said, what did you say?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Nothing.
And he would not repeat it, just for the record. He refused to repeat it. Okay. But he said it, and I was like, yes. I was not the first one to say it. Now, fast forward about a month or two.
3 hours.
Fast forward about a month or two, when I did tell him I was in love with him, and he walked out the room. Crickets. Just like with Austin.
I said I had to go to the bathroom.
He left me standing there, walked out the room, okay? And I was like, alrighty then. Then he came back in after about 5-10 minutes of leaving me standing there.
You were in your own apartment.
Very awkward, though. Very awkward. And then he told me he was in love with me, too. But therein is what I'm saying. To him, saying, I love you, did not hold as much weight as saying, I'm in love with you. But there are people who don't see a difference between the two. Mm-hmm. If I say I love you, I'm saying I'm in love with you. And it's not, and it's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So, Austin has said, I'm crazy about her. Mm-hmm. I've never felt this way about anyone this fast. I do anything. She makes me feel this. Mm-hmm. So he's using all of those things to say that he does love her. But to actually use those words, he has to say them when he's ready. And he should be allowed to. And she got to that point toward the end of the evening when she said, yep, I told him how I felt about him. He's not ready to say that. I'm fine with that. Now she just needs to really let it go.
And basically, I think, in retrospect, is just understanding his actions are saying everything that she wants to hear. Right. So eventually it will take place. She'll hear those words.
Right. Mika and Michael. I think we were both on Mika's tip tonight. Yeah. Michael has some issues that he needs to get professional counseling.
He has some self-esteem issues.
And it's interesting that both Michael and Katie are letting how they grew up,
their history,
how their past shaped them to impede on their ability to be open to their partners, to be vulnerable to their partners, to be genuine with their partners. And Michael's issues have translated into building himself up and everything about him up in a way that's dishonest.
And it's dishonest because what he's doing is he's fabricating an image of himself, right, and projecting it to other people. When in fact,
projecting it to Mika.
But this is something he's always done. That's why I say to people. So he's just doing it to another person.
But she's seeing through. She sees through it.
She's a detailed woman. I mean, she is a woman who is exacting. At first, I thought she was just a little bit
too stringent.
Yeah, she was a little extra. Mm-hmm. But the situation kept coming up. I mean, it kept happening. She kept addressing it. She kept giving him an opportunity to just be forthright and be open. And he felt that he had to be this extra person, especially for his wife. All the other people throughout his life, he's had to be, or he's created a persona of himself to be more than he actually is, or an exaggerated portion or depiction of who he actually is. Mm-hmm. And again, being adopted and all of that, I can imagine that you would have, some psychological issues of being accepting or accepted. And that's basically what it comes down to. Basically what his situation is outside of the relationship that has to be dealt with.
but it's harming the relationship.
Truly.
Which is why I'm with her when she says he needs professional help. He needs professional counseling.
He does.
He's got to work because the dishonesty, the exaggeration, the misleading, however you want to term it, okay, is an immediate go-to. It is his comfort zone.
Yeah.
And he needs to work through that outside of her, or else it's never going to work. Yeah. And likewise, Katie and Derek, Katie is using her past and her issues from her past and projecting those onto Derek as though they're his issues. And they're not his issues. No, not. Derek is like, look, I, had to give up some things. They both come from divorced homes. Mm-hmm. I had to give up some things, and, I'm not giving up anything anymore. Yeah. I'm going to do what I dreamt of doing, what I dream of doing.
At least attempt.
I'm going to, exactly. And because he has more of a carefree attitude, he calls it his child at heart. But because he has more of a carefree attitude about achieving his goals, and Katie, on the other hand, sees herself as very mature. But her maturity is seriousness that is not childlike, because she had to give up, in her mind, she had to give up being a child in order to take care of everybody else when her parents were fighting and the marriage was dissolving and all of that. And so, therefore, she resents his ability to be carefree and to dream. She's jealous.
Yeah.
And that came out when she visited his home.
And they looked through some of his history.
And she discovered that he's a writer. Yeah. She discovered that he actually does do things that he dreams of doing, like touching the elephant. And it kind of ticked me off. Her reaction ticked me off. Because instead of using that as a time of celebrating what she was discovering about him and how great that was, she turned it into
an issue, like
a negative thing.
You've been
holding back from me.
With me,
and I don't know who you are. And oh my goodness, she just flipped that script so fast, and it has absolutely nothing to do with him and everything to do with her.
I really just get a sense that, in her seeing him, in spite of the similar background that she had with being part of a broken home, he did do things that he was spontaneous in doing, and he had relationships, and maybe he didn't have the responsibility of taking care of his family or anything like that, but I can imagine that part of what she was feeling was the fact that she decided to take care of her family or become that focused individual, and gave up her willingness to be spontaneous and free-spirited.
Because on his current bucket list is to write a book. Well, she initially has thought that was
childish.
That's unrealistic. Yeah. You want to write a book? You want to write a song? That's unrealistic. You can't do that. Then she discovers that he is a writer.
He's already done it.
And instead of going, wow, you actually can write. That's fantastic. Again, she flipped the script and turned it into something negative, like he was holding back from her and keeping things from her. And it really ticked me off, because you're supposed to be enjoying the evolution of your relationship. Yeah. You're supposed to be enjoying finding out about your partner and what makes them tick, and what they enjoy and what they're gifted at. And instead of being jealous about or resenting what they have been and what they want to be, that was really telling. And unfortunately, that puts Derek in a hard spot, because it makes him feel like he's doing something wrong, and he can't please her when actually he's doing nothing wrong.
True, because if he attempts to try to please her, he will be stifling himself. Yeah. Because he's a creative mind. He's a creative being, and he's an artistic type mind, and that's a free spirit and an open thought process of what could be.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, "Well, I can't do that." You know, why not?
And so, knowing that individuals bring their backgrounds and all of that into marriage, we've got to go to our book here, Becoming a Professional Lover, just give you a couple of tips. That's why having common values between the two of you is so important, because there's going to be a lot of individuality. There's going to be a lot of things that you bring with you into a relationship that can cause some dissension or contention or awkwardness. So you have to work to find the things that you have in common.
True.
And hopefully you have more in common than you have different. And the different doesn't have to be bad.
True.
Or negative. It's, again, celebrating each other's individuality.
Yeah. Exactly.
And how that can bolster the partnership between the two of you. But having common values is very important. Having as many commonalities as possible is very important to building a healthy, productive partnership and relationship. All right, so that's Katie and Derek, and our last couple, yay for Mindy. She had enough. Bye-bye, Zach. Yeah, everybody, he was just not on the up and up. And I think we're all glad that she finally stood up for herself. We know that, you are treated the way you allow yourself to be treated. And when she discovered that Zach had still been lying, she finally said, bye-bye. Yeah. And we're all like, bye-bye, Zach. Yeah. Get gone. Excuse me. When she found out that he lied about who gave her the secret information, which was her girlfriend, Lindsay, who he'd been talking to behind her back. And the fact that he didn't want to say it was her because he didn't want to throw her under the bus. And Dr. Viviana said, you showed more loyalty to her friend,
an outside
person, than you did to your wife. Yeah. I wish you had shown her more loyalty.
As much loyalty. Which would be just bringing whatever issues are to your spouse. And discussing it.
There is a tip in our book called Loyalty is to One's Marriage and Family. Even when you're dealing with your blood relatives, your mother, your father, your siblings, your first loyalty is to your spouse, your marriage, and then your family.
True.
And so Zach had demonstrated over and over and over in these last 5 weeks, basically, they have 3 weeks to go, that he was not loyal to Mindy. He was not loyal to the process. He was not loyal to the commitment that he made in the process. And so she did the right thing.
In all actuality, I don't know if Zach knows what loyalty is.
Well, he did not think that she would do that. And he all but said that when she said, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. And he was kind of like, I didn't think it would come to that. But there you go. So that's everybody. The last thing we just want to say is we hope that everybody is dealing with the social distancing, the quarantine that we've been under for the last week and a half.
Outer circles.
Right. And we know that there are some couples for whom being in the house together all the time, 24/7,
it's a change of pace.
And a little daunting. We're not one of those couples. Fortunately, we like being around each other. But I'm working on my stuff, he's working on his stuff, usually in the same room. But, you know, you do have to find a way to be able to um, coexist in the same space for as long as we have to. And so start thinking outside the box. You know, if you're the kind of person who needs to have some time to yourself, go pick a room, be in there for a couple hours. The other person, don't get salty. You know, usually he's at work, you're at work, you spend 8 hours a day apart, unless you work together. So, you know, it's a little change to end up having to be in the house together. And if you have young children, God bless you, because you're having a bit of a time. Yeah. But, you know, think outside the box. Do some puzzles together. Exactly. Play some games. Do paint by numbers together. This is all the kind of stuff that my family used to do when I was growing up. We had family night. So, you know, we either did puzzles, we watched, you know, TV shows as a family that we all loved. We played games, board games, Monopoly. I hate Monopoly, but Monopoly and, you know.
Scrabble.
Oh, I don't like Scrabble either, but Scrabble. I mean, you know, so bottom line is make sure that you're making time to have fun together.
True.
That is another tip in our book, Becoming a Professional Lover. And that is, let me see if I can find it right quick. That, yes, week 32, make time to have fun together. And togetherness in work and play will keep you bonded. True. So even though this is a serious time, and you know we feel like we're all in one big movie, the reality is that being able to spend time together as a family and as a couple at home should really strengthen your partnership rather than tear it apart. So we hope that that's what it's doing for you, and that when we are all allowed to come out from this quarantine and this social distancing, that everybody will be coming out with a stronger bond and a lot more togetherness than you've been able to have otherwise. So with that, we're signing off, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Stay healthy.